Welcome to today's CPG Masterclass series webinar. My name is Tom Bentley. I'm the Communications and Event Manager for the Confederation of Professional Golf. So I'd like to welcome you all today and thank you for your continued support in turning up to these webinars. It's really appreciated. Before we do get started, just make sure your microphones are muted, please, just throughout the entire presentation, but keep your screens on so we can see who's there, who's listening and who's watching. And I'll be recording this webinar as well and uploading them straight onto the hub page afterwards. So if you miss anything or want to go back to the Q&A session, you're more than welcome to do that by visiting the hub page after. And then we'll also allocate approximately 10 to 15 minutes for a Q&A session afterwards. So like with previous ones, if you do have any questions for Jim and Andy, do post them into the chat in the bottom of your screens as we go along. And then we'll have hopefully have a number of questions to choose from to start the Q&A session off. So without further ado, I'll hand you straight over to Jim and Andy, who work for Ikonik Golf, and they're going to be discussing the overall concept of coaching with technology, using the technology tools to enhance your experience with pupils and students through the concept of process training. But I won't go into too much more detail, otherwise I might as well do the presentation myself. So I'll hand it straight over to you, Andy and James.
Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today and let you know a little bit about all the study that we've done over the last 6, 8, 10 years, really, and how we've concluded our thinking around an application that we believe is very much focused on the way instruction will be moving forward from now on. Really, it just seems to be the timing. It couldn't be better for all of us to start to engage in these types of things. So I'll introduce Andy Hydorn. Andy is a partner of mine, and we work together to try to deliver the best tools we can. So Andy, say hello.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us.
Okay, so I'll take you through a little bit of a presentation, and as Tom said, we'll do some question and answers later, and I look forward to conversing a little bit in a little bit. So essentially, Ikonik Golf is came together through an interesting marriage of e-learning, blended learning, and e-training. It's really what we started out to do, and the reason we did that was because the concepts of teaching in anything that's complex in a short half hour, an hour, is very difficult. It's hard to do that. It's hard to gather enough attention paid to what it is that you're working on. So the concepts that e-learning have brought for years now, and now more pertinent blended learning and e-training opportunities, really help solve that problem where retention becomes much more, you're much more capable of retaining information when it's presented to you, when the learning materials are presented to you up front. So our company is made up really of 30-year golf business veterans. Andy and I have had a very similar career, going as far back to working on golf courses and in retailers, and we worked for Callaway Golf for years, and we both started our own businesses. This has really been our life. The golf industry has been our life. It's what we've been focused on. And interestingly enough, I started to partner with some individuals who had about 25 years in the e-learning industry. And that's kind of where this was born and bred. So we kind of knew that we could bring something special to the table if we involved those two industries. The product itself, we created a real learning-based opportunity based on data. So we didn't just throw our hands up and say, let's go post some videos and see what happens. We decided to really work through the learning process based on data and utilize the most effective coaching platform that we could. So we developed the platform to deliver a very unique experience that's driven by data for golf professionals, and it's a customizable platform, so it allows golf professionals to do what they want to do with autonomy. So we're all longtime golf industry veterans in this business and at this company. And we've had experience working all over the world, so we're not limited to the U.S. We have done a significant amount. I think some of the guys on this call would know me for the last several years, actually working in Europe and throughout. So it's what I've done my whole life, and Andy as well. We've been focused on delivering tools around the world with as much enthusiasm as we can to deliver the best products. The future for Ikonik is all about, there's a couple of things. We're focused on delivering the best e-training platform in the world. That's really where we've settled in on, because e-learning is mostly academic, which is great. We need a portion of that as well. Blended learning, that's where our coaches come in. We are not a B2C app or a B2B2C app. We believe that that's a very key part of the process. So we'll develop the most advanced learning modules and technologies and features to deliver to all of you, so you can spend the time doing what you do best and not have to worry about spending money to build or time to create or time to develop, but spending your time on coaching. So we're dedicated to that. We're backed by some significant investors that are in the sports industry, and it allows us to continue to grow as we move forward. So I'm going to play a little bit of a video that's going to tell you a little bit more about our product, and then we'll get into some of the general digital space concepts after that.
There has never been a better time to be a golf coach. New technologies have students and coaches more excited about golf instruction than ever before. Students have more access to instruction and are learning in a number of different ways. Over the last few years, we got together with the e-learning industry to figure out how we can develop the most effective tools for coaches to teach and train their students. We have brought this to life. We know one thing for sure. As time goes by, technology has become a larger part of our everyday lives. That includes everything we do, from family to fun to work. By partnering with Ikonik, you'll be on the cutting edge and amongst the best in the business.
Ikonik is a digital academy builder tool designed into a technology platform and delivered through a mobile app. Sounds simple, right? Well, in fact, other than all of the technology and software that goes into the back end, for the coach and for the student, it couldn't be more simple. Each of your students will go through an onboarding process that will give you, their coach, some great insight into who they are and how best to coach them. This information will be used as a form of artificial intelligence stored inside of the platform that will suggest and deliver customized instruction that suits each one of your students individually. As a coach, you can access all of your students and all of the interactions you have had with each of them right here at your fingertips. Possibly the most important feature of your Ikonik Academy is that the platform will allow you to store and build a medical-like record for each and every one of your students. Simply put, Ikonik will not only make you a better coach, it will give your students the best chance to improve. You might ask how? Well, Ikonik is designed for any coach to deliver instruction, test their students, track progress, and communicate through chat and video. Ikonik provides the opportunity for a complete and modular approach to delivering golf instruction. Using the Ikonik tools, a coach will have the opportunity to put a student through the 4 elements of process training: test, teach, train, retest. Process training is truly the most effective way to coach, not just golf, but anything. Without the ability to test your students, deliver instruction content up front, and track progress, the effectiveness of any golf coaching will certainly be limited. Your academy comes with a complete textbook of training, learning, and scoring modules to use as the ultimate resource of content at the fingertips of the Ikonik coach. The modules are all written and filmed by some of the top coaches in our business. Ikonik was developed as a product for the coach. It is not built for consumers to browse and view content with no purpose. The only way a student can view any instruction content is if it's delivered to them by their coach. We are certain that some of you would like to record and use your own teaching content instead of the content loaded into the textbook. We have made it very simple for a coach to take any of the modules in the textbook and make them your own. You can replace the video and any of the text content right on your mobile device. All of the modules that you create will be listed in your library and easily identified by a different colored icon. There are major benefits of digital delivery of your instruction content to your students using the Ikonik Digital Academy. When your student has the opportunity to view instruction before they come to see you, it is likely that your time spent together will take on a whole new dynamic compared to the traditional one-hour lesson. As you get used to using your digital academy, you will start to see new opportunities for you to reassess how and when you schedule your range time with your students. This will have a profound effect on the quality of your coaching and the stress put on your lesson book. Ikonik is designed as an aggregation of tools for any coach to use in whichever manner they are comfortable. All new coaches will register for our digital training course. This training course will focus on and help all coaches to get comfortable with the tools, the business models, and the applications of digital coaching. Once the training is complete, one of our account managers will hold a business consultation meeting with you to help develop your coaching services menu and assist you in inviting your students to join your academy. Come and give us a try. This just may be the best business decision you have ever made.
My name is Tom Henderson. I'm the 2015 PGA Professional of the Year and candidate for Secretary for the PGA of America. Our job as PGA professionals is to make the game more enjoyable for our members and our students. Ikonik Golf has come out with a digital platform to give us the tools to do that. If you get a chance, check out Ikonik Golf. It's going to help your game. It's going to help your students' games.
All right.
There has never been a
Oops, if I can figure out how to get past that video. Anyway, so that's a little bit about what we do, and essentially, the application was designed really for golf professionals. It's not, as it was mentioned in the video, it's not an app for consumers to browse. It's not about posting things in a all-encompassing video site or some type of platform where people could utilize materials at no charge. It's designed really to disseminate information from the golf professional to the student, to provide discipline in the work habit, and to track and monitor progress of the students, so we can actually see process training come to life and people learn. So when asked why us, why now, or why is this the right thing now, the answer really is better results, and it's right for the time. Blended learning has the power to increase information retention rates by up to 60% in 60% less time. Those statistics are very well known throughout the United States and the United Kingdom, actually, and they've been around a long time. It's just interesting that we're just now bringing it into golf, but that's a very powerful thing when you can actually retain more, teach with more effectiveness, and do it in 60% less time. The relevance of tech-enabled multi-way synchronous and asynchronous communication and feedback will rise and can serve as an effective training tool. That was by Mary Meeker from Bond Capital, I think only a month ago. Of course, it was pertaining to the state of the world, where the virus and where we are today. And companies everywhere are looking at the opportunity to utilize technology to help move instruction and education and coaching forward. So it's interesting that we're in that process anyway, as that's what we do, but this is becoming more and more relevant for the times. The instruction participation base is growing. A lot of people don't realize that around the world. The statistics show that the participation base for coaches and those who are taking instruction is actually growing, and 64% of golfers now watch instruction online. So they're used to a new way of learning, It's not, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it was still a little bit foreign to do that, but today it's naturally happening. And again, that's another worldwide statistic. So we look at some of the technologies that are out there, and we say, okay, lots of people use technology, and that's fairly common. So we looked at this and said, okay, those are all good point solution systems, and we think that it's terrific to utilize that information, but let's use it to make coaching better. And with the way we can do that is by utilizing the application that drives data, or that's built on data. We can use that data to deliver better understanding. Learning modules go way beyond a lesson. So Andy will show you in just a little bit how we build a learning module and what they're all about. But essentially, a learning module is made up of key points and practice sessions and learning cues and progress tracking. There's all kinds of things that are put into a learning module that go beyond what a normal lesson might be. So that's a very powerful way to present information. And process delivers results. We've seen that's just about in anything you do, but particularly in sports, process is very, very important to deliver results. So we now have the ability to develop and easily manage that process. And as said in the video, you get a medical type record for the students. So as long as they're participating in the game, we can go back and look in the archives to see what they've done and where they've been and how they're performing. We can maximize the learning by disseminating more information, adding discipline to the work habit, and tracking and monitoring progress. That's all real important stuff for general learning, and it will pertain to golf as well. And to create more and better learning options, there's all kinds of options today, and these are, I just listed 2: program sales and subscription sales. So turning your normal dollars for hours trade, the shoulder to shoulder model, into working process programs, or programs that are built around process, or subscriptions that are built around process, allows you to offer a lot more with less of your time and actually making more money. But most importantly, your students have a much, much better chance to succeed and effectively become better if that's what they want to do, and we assume they do if they're seeking instruction. So you'll have a greater understanding of your students' abilities as well, which makes it a lot easier for you to maneuver as you're working with a student. So I'm going to turn this over to Andy for a couple minutes and let him discuss what the learning modules are and what the process is all about.
Thanks, Jim. Excuse me. So as we look at the center part of this graphic, you'll see that in the upper right-hand quadrant, there's the testing portion of the process. And this is all about the process of learning. So the first step is to actually create a benchmark. So we'll do initial testing so that we can create that benchmark and have a place to start so we know where we can grow from there. And then the next step is always going to be teaching. And we all teach. We all try to get people to understand things so that they can begin to make changes for the better. And as we go to the third step, it's training. And this is the part that a lot of people will skip over. Just the information of the delivering instruction through teaching isn't enough. We have to put it into a process of training so that the student can actually begin to get some repetitions down and begin to change their movement patterns. And finally, we retest that original benchmark. So process training is really, what we try to focus all of our content on. So as we build, as Jim pointed out, we build our modules around the ability to use process training. So we have inside our platform, in our library, we have what we call scoring modules. And as you'll see in the upper right-hand corner of this graphic, the scoring modules are literally just that. They're activities that a student can pull up on their phone. They can go through the directions and hit shots and point and click on the screen where their ball finished, so we can start to get the ability to record results, which is obviously an important part of the process. The next thing is the learning modules that we have are full of information, you know, much more than just a video. We have, the video is an important part of most of these modules, but once you put a video up, we want to make sure that we supplement the key points of the video with some text points. And we actually, without, you know, just giving the information, without the training portion of it, you know, it would be less effective. So we've added practice sessions. You'll see there at the bottom left, there's practice sessions that are in most of these modules. So again, we've modeled all of our content around the fact that we're able to use this test, teach, train, and retest kind of system so that we can help deliver that process from us through you coaches to your students. And we also recognize that a lot of what some coaches will want to do is use their own content. And when we made this platform and designed it, one of the first things that we did was we wanted to make certain, as you saw in the video, that it was really easy for a coach to edit any of our modules, replace video with video that they're using, even replace some of the key points in the text. So again, we've provided a whole library of over 300 modules to use as a resource, and certainly provided the opportunity for any coach to go ahead and begin to create their own library through the process of editing the modules. Go ahead, Jim. We always talk about how we have what we call an aggregation of tools, and coaching is you know, multifaceted, as you all know. So as we designed and built our platform, you know, we obviously built the content, we obviously built the ability to deliver this content digitally through all kinds of different modules and scoring modules, and but we also realized that communication is a big part of coaching and dealing with students. So as you'll see, you know, we have what we call Smart Chat, which has been, you know, uniquely designed in the sense that as we start to deliver lessons and instruction on the platform, on the app, we can start to develop conversations underneath every one of those lessons. So Smart Chat does that. It groups the conversations under the specific topic that we're discussing and the lesson that we're working on, or whatever it might be. And also through Smart Chat, we have the ability to upload any PDFs. We can do videos right then and there that you can upload into Smart Chat. You can share pre-recorded videos. There's all kinds of ways to communicate from coach to student within the Smart Chat portion of the Ikonik app. You'll see on the far left, we have what's called the personal assessment. And we have a battery of 4 sections of questions that every student will go through on the onboarding process that will begin to give information to the coach about what type of student they are in terms of their willingness to put some time in, or are they just casually trying to improve. There's a portion of it that will determine how developed of a player they are. So that personal assessment will give the coach some good insight into the students that they're dealing with. As you'll see also, the coach's own content, there's just a little thing to point out here in the upper left-hand part of the screen. You'll see the different colored icons. You'll see the grayed out Ikonik symbol, and then you'll see a green symbol. Any of the content that any coach edits or modifies will then show up in the library underneath a different color icon, so that you all can know that you're starting to build some of your own content that way, and it's easily identifiable through the different colors. So as we go through, we are also partnering with several advanced training people you'll see down in the bottom right. So we're doing a Mach 3 speed program, we're doing a nutrition program, we're doing fluid motion factor, which is a zone training program, a college counseling program. There's a lot of what we call advanced training that we are using inside the system that any coach can go ahead and sell that self-contained, self-operated program to a student, and therefore providing them with access to more information that as a general coach you may not necessarily be an expert in. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, so one other note quickly, I should have stopped on the last screen, is that those programs are also, just in case anyone's wondering, they are being developed as well as the textbooks for individual countries and for individual regions that would prefer to have their own advanced training programs or their own textbook. We certainly will be offering that to everybody we deal with. We've had discussions with Ian about that in the past, with CPG about that in the past. So everything is customizable, and I wanted to make sure we knew that. So not just the content within the system, but also the advanced training programs. And then of course, every coach can, as Andy was saying, can edit their own modules into it as well. So, okay, so the benefit for the students is it's personalized. So as opposed to a one-way video presentation, which is what most systems are doing out there, we created an interactive system that is personalized for the students. So through a series of advanced assessments and achievement level testing, we can actually create programs that are specific for the needs of the learner, and it's asynchronous. So they don't need to necessarily be with the coach at any specific place to learn. They can learn wherever they are. Student takes ownership of their process, which is really important for efficacy, and it really does help them control and learn going forward when they own the process. It eliminates the time struggle, to find a lesson time that works for you, for the coach. So sometimes it's not easy to find times available, and this makes it easy to do that. Learning materials are upfront. This is one of the key points to any type of what I call real learning. If your learning materials are upfront and referenceable, that will increase retention and allows the coach to do more penetrating coaching than just specifically showing a specific move during the swing or during a putting stroke or whatever. All that stuff can be presented up front now, so you can coach how to play, and helping students really understand the value in other things than what that specific move is. And then students have an ongoing library of their historical instruction. So that medical record that I was speaking of, there's an ongoing library which is accessible anytime by the coach. So through our Smart Chat feature, if you worked with somebody 6 weeks ago, you can log into the Smart Chat with the student and bring up that specific area that you were working on, and you can continue to converse underneath, as well as see exactly what happened during that time. So all those things are available now, and we bring them to life. And most importantly, it provides more focused time when the student is with you. So I always get questions regarding whether a virtual only program is as effective. And though a virtual only program can be extraordinarily effective, we think blended programs where they're actually working with their coach, sometimes on the range, sometimes through video chat, and working independently on their own, is most educational systems around the world have agreed is the most, it's the learning that provides the most opportunity for the student. So it not only is more effective for the coach, but the student has a much better chance of retaining the information. Okay, so for coaches, we've done a couple of things here. So we're going to just show you quickly the lesson comparison on the left side. Andy, did you want to talk about that for a minute?
Sure, it's just an illustration of what the traditional 1 hour lesson looked like, and everybody does it differently. But again, it's an illustration of how that hour is filled up, and there's a lot of responsibility put on the coach's shoulder within that hour to do a lot of things. Like, you're delivering instruction, you're getting them to understand it, you're getting them to start to train it, but you don't really have the time to do all that stuff. So the whole idea of being able to deliver some instruction up front allows, like Jim said, the opportunity when you are together on the range to be able to make sure that you're going through more of a checkup and a confirmation, and therefore you don't need a full hour. The information we're getting back from coaches is that, you know, they don't really feel like they can even fill 30 minutes sometimes if we're using this system properly. So again, it's just an illustration of the two differences in your approach to using the technology along with your in-person meetings.
Yeah, and so if you look on the right side, the big bold letters says expand your capabilities and grow your earnings. And that's probably the biggest question we get all the time as we go through presentations is most people recognize, okay, I can make more money. So how much and how does that work? And the simple answers are to move from an in-person only model to an in-person digital hybrid model allows you to shift a lot of those materials up front, which means that you'll have more time to yourself or more time to coach more people and not only not lose anything, but probably gain something in the effectiveness of what you're teaching. So shifting to that model makes a big difference. You can deliver a lot of the instruction digitally. So that makes it easier for you and it makes it easier for the student. So you can spend fewer hours on the range while coaching more students. We literally for 5 years, we got that message as loud and clear from our golf professionals as it could be. I mean, they were spending, many golf professionals, we know how hard you work, and the reality is you get up in the morning, you go to the range, and a lot of times you see the sun go down before you leave, and there's only so many hours in a day, and you can only make so much money, and it's hard. It's, you know, it's not easy to do. So this does allow you to do a lot of your time spent on the range. It does allow you to do a lot of that from, you know, from the luxury of your office or your home or wherever you want to do. You can get as much, actually more information out to your students than even if you were with them. And so you can reach out beyond your local base as well. So that was another thing that we heard, you know, in significant numbers was, well, I only have about 10-mile radius or a short radius around where my club is, and I really don't reach out beyond that for students. Now you can literally teach anywhere. We had coaches in Iowa, in the United States, teaching students in Denmark. We had another in Australia. We had another coach in Texas teaching students in Denmark. So you can literally reach out wherever you want and be effective. We've seen it happen, and we've seen the results, and everything was not just good, but one would argue was terrific. So you have a great opportunity to reach beyond your local geography to gain more students. So I wanted to give an example of a training program, because it's limitless how you can create a training program. But in my discussions with coaches, I often get, well, can you give me an example of how it works? So I created one, and I'm happy to take some questions on this later during the question and answer, but this is a 2-month training program. So this is selling somebody the idea that for the next 2 months, we're going to work together to help grow your game, or help you become better at the game, whatever category or skill or however that student wants to go. So instead of we're going to do a lesson or 2 lessons or 3 lessons, we're going to develop a 2-month training program. The lesson modules delivered per month, let's say we're going to use a number of 6. So that's the lesson modules delivered through the system, the modules that Andy was describing. And we're going to also deliver 2 in-person 30-minute lessons. So that individual is now getting 8 lessons, 8 total lessons, 6 digital and 2 in person. and the coach is spending 2 total hours, as we talk about doing it for 2 months. So half hour each lesson. That's 2 months worth is 2 total hours, and it's a total of 16 lessons, 2 months times the 8 total lessons. So you can see the majority of that is coming through the digital space, but there are still some interactive, but blended, if you would, in the real world as well. So the program rate, you can change this. Any professional can put whatever rate they think is appropriate, but we just put $150 down. Now, we chose to do this way. We had built the model, but based on an hourly rate as well, and I can show you that that's relatively easy to ascertain from the same type of program. So let's just say that the rate per the program is $150 a month. Times 1 student. Of course, you could multiply it by as many students as you want, but essentially what that means is that $300 in income from this program for 2 hours spent on the range and 16 lessons delivered, 16 lessons that each and every one of them is more effective and gives more knowledge and more learning to the student than any one lesson on a range could give. So, and of course, again, you could break that down any way you want. When I was mentioning the hourly model, if you took somebody that was making $50 an hour and you multiplied that times the equivalent of 16 lessons, they're making an awful lot of money with only 2 hours spent in the real world. So you can extrapolate it any way you want, but essentially what we're trying to show is that with less hours spent on the range and more effective learning delivered, you can make more money. So that's kind of, I mean, forgive us for doing everything in dollars, but it was the easiest way for us to show it. But so also we always point out the message at the bottom. By enabling the coach to move from a physical only business model to a physical digital hybrid model, that allows he or she to engage more students in the same amount of time. Coaches can spend fewer hours on the range while effectively coaching more students at once and making more money. That's essentially what we built the system to do. So we ask you at this point, we'd love to have any questions that you have, we'd love to answer, we'd do the best that we can, and we'd certainly love to have you join us as we hopefully start to shape the new generation of coaches and the new generation of learners that play this great game. So we're here to answer questions, and Tom, I guess I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Andy, as well. I hope you, everybody listening, enjoyed that. It was nice to get some ideas and insight into the features of the product as well. It was interesting. Just as Jim said, we'll just allocate some time now to a Q&A. So if you've got any questions for the gents, please post them in the chat now, and I'll spend a bit of time asking them. Just while we're waiting, I guess I'll just ask a few. I've got a few questions from myself, gents. First one, just wondering if you could just sort of build me an overall picture as to digital coaching in general. How has it grown over the years or developed, and the directions it's taken, and where do you see the directions it going in the future as well?
Yeah, so oddly enough, this business is not new. We started working on it actually in 2012. I had sold my previous business, and I actually journeyed over to the United Kingdom, where I met my partners at that time who were in the e-learning business, and they were doing a significant amount. I mean, they were both, I think, 15 and 20 year or 25 year. I think that's what the experience they had, and that was in 2012. So they had been doing it a long time. And the third person there was a 25 year. So this is not new. The e-learning and digital learning space is not new. But what happened with me, frankly, was I have 2 children. They're both very good players. But as they were growing up and learning to play, I found instruction difficult to really wrap my arms around. I had done everything else in the business, but it was I was scratching my head. So we started to look into the different opportunities, and the digital space seemed so natural for being able to deliver more information and spend less time and less money on things that are not needed, and more time creating information that is needed. So in terms of with the digital space in general, it's been around a long time, but it's only grown in magnitude over the last well, over the last 5 years specifically, but almost incredibly over the last 3 months, as the world has been suffering. We're seeing all over the world. I just saw information from NYU, and I saw information from several colleges in the United Kingdom, and I think they were talking about a specific school in Brazil that was, or something like that, all doing the same things, moving a lot of their education to what they're calling blended, which means it'll be online and in the real world, and time will be allocated to each one depending on what the importance is of the course. So I think with the advent of newer technologies, which is allowing us to do this, it's here to stay. I don't think it's going. As a matter of fact, we just saw the announcements from Twitter and Facebook, right? Twitter said all of 100% of their employees can stay home and work from home, and Facebook said 50% of their employees can permanently. We're talking permanently. So as more of the world heads towards digital presentations for all kinds of things, it is certainly here to stay, and I think it's only going to become more and more part of our everyday life.
Okay.
Sorry for the long answer.
No, that's fine. No, it's fine. We've got a question coming from Alvaro. He's looking at more some of the practical, not issues, but regarding the product itself. So, for example, is it mostly constructed in English? Sort of the prices and things like that. I guess is there a place for people who are listening into this to go to contact you guys in relation to more information about the product itself, about Ikonik?
Yeah, so I'll take the first part of that, and then I'll let Andy take the where to go and what to do. But as I was mentioning earlier, we are creating the content and the site itself in multiple languages. So if we are working for, and I'm just going to throw this as an example, we don't have this deal yet, but we're working with Ian on the specific opportunities, and we met with a couple of different PGAs that are represented in CPG, and we would, for example, maybe do a textbook in Spanish, or a textbook in French, or a textbook in Swedish. That's okay, and the system is designed, it has been designed to be able to do that. We are a global company. Some of our initial initiatives, our major initiatives, are really overseas. So so the answer is yes, we're doing that. And then Andy, I don't know if you want to talk about where they can go to.
Sure. Yeah. So let's talk about price. We are a free license platform for coaches. We wanted to make our product available to everybody, and we decided to go in that direction. The only real investment from a coach's point of view is going to be their time and effort to understand how to use it, and we do ask that you go through a small training program to be able to learn, all the ins and outs of the platform and how to use it, and really it gets into some of the more concepts about the marketplace and using technology and all that stuff. So that's really the only cost of the coach, and it's something that's going to be less than $250 total. So there's going to be several different levels of that education as we go. And there's another question up there from Alvaro about
the apps and how what it work on. Yeah, I was just about to ask that.
Yeah, so we are an Apple-based app right now. In about 3 months, we're going to be moving towards getting up on the Google platform as well. But I think in general, people who develop apps go Apple first, and then it's just a natural progress. But we absolutely are aiming for, in a few months, to have the other platform up and ready to go as well. And then the way the system works is the coach has what we call a coach portal, which is on the web, and you can do some of the administrative stuff on the coach portal, but 95% of what you're going to be doing will be actually on the app itself. The coaching, the communicating, all of the activities within the Ikonik system will be done, like I said, 95% on the app.
Perfect. Alvaro's just asked contact details. I don't suppose you could just put those into the chat, maybe, Andy.
Yep.
And just while you're doing that, a question from Marcus has just sent it privately to me. Does the coach control the content viewable for his students, or can the student venture off and look at other stuff?
No, it's all coach controlled. The student can't venture off and to see anything else or get anything else except what's distributed from the coach.
Perfect. Okay, there you go, Marcus. And then question for me, I'm just wondering if you could share some experiences from your guys' point of view in terms of the use of the product from both the coach point of view and the pupil point of view. What sort of feedback have you received from both in relation to coaching with technology in general and also Ikonik?
Yeah, so I could speak to that from both sides, actually. So the biggest, I would say the highest, well, I don't know what the word is, maybe the remarks we get most frequently, how's that, are that it's easier and it saves time. That a lot of coaches were trying to move to this type of thinking, but they didn't have all the tools to do that. And so they were trying to piece it together using sort of one-off point solution applications, and it became difficult and hard to manage. And most of the time, they weren't able to do that. So the feedback we get most often from coaches is that it's easy and it makes what they were trying to do not only much easier, but it saves them a lot of time in doing it. So I think that's good, and we like to hear that stuff. And then from the student side, the feedback we've gotten has always been around two things, really. The first is that they can learn on their own time. So most students like that. They don't necessarily have to be at the range or in front of the coach. And I think that that is important to a lot of learners. And then the second piece is today's learner. And I say today's learner, a lot of I think people are becoming more accustomed to using applications now. And so it is, it's almost welcome that they can learn the game of golf this way, because I think most of the applications that had been put out previously are not really learning apps. They're designed to sell a product or something like that. So I think students like the idea that they actually have real learning in the palm of their hands.
Excellent. Yeah, no problem. I'm just looking at time. What I'll say is, if anybody else has any other questions for Jim and Andy, do you want to just fire them over to me and I'll send them over to you guys. So my email, in fact, I'll put that in now, is tb@cpg.golf. And we'll just close things off. So just before everybody leaves, just want to say thank you to you all for attending. First of all, it's a very relevant topic that we're talking about, particularly at this time. And I was just sort of chuckling to myself because it's quite an ironic situation that we're talking about coaching with technology whilst on Zoom with technology as well. But yeah, so thank you to everybody for attending. And also then to you guys at Ikonik as well, Jim and Andy, thank you for presenting today. Hope you enjoyed it as well. Just before we leave, it is obviously the final week of this current series of webinars. We've got one on Friday, which is the final one on communication, science and coaching. So if you want to join that and have a final sort of hoorah, please do. And apart from that else, so just one more time, just want to say thank you. And guys, I don't know if you want to say anything else just to close things off as well.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Tom, and thanks everybody for joining and your attention too. And I did leave an email address up there for anybody who's interested in learning more or wants more information. Just says sales@ikonikgolf.com is listed in the chat, and you can reach out and we'd be more than happy to engage you one-on-one.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say thank you to Tom for putting this on, and for all at CPG. We've been working with Ian Randall for a long time now, and we're quite pleased that we've developed a relationship with CPG. So we're excited to move forward with however we can help and however we can be as of use to the organization. So once again, thanks from us.
Excellent. Thank you, gents. Okay, thank you, everybody. And I hope you all have a fantastic evening. Stay safe.